My internet is super slow, so we might be lagging just a smidge. Just a smidge. Good morning, everybody. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo. Gotta go live on the gram for the Gram fam.
Yeah,
if you're joining us over there, thank you so much. Is Dr. Fromage going to be joining us today?
We'll see. He might be traveling.
Dr. Fromage. That still makes me giggle. I just love it. Of course, it always reminds me of Dexter's Laboratory.
In Dexter's lab.
Yeah. So there's an entire episode of Dexter's Lab where, and I'm talking about the cartoon, people. Good morning, Robin. Thanks for joining us over on the gram, and good morning, Regalado Real Estate. Thanks for joining us over there. So if you're not following Dr. Fromage on Instagram, that is Fly's dad, and we need to get him an audience because that is the best name ever. Anyway, Dexter's Laboratory is a cartoon, and there's an entire episode where all he says is fromage. That's like literally all. Yeah, all he says is fromage, and he like rules the world by saying fromage, and it's funny.
Cheese does rule the world.
Cheese does rule the world, right? Like.
Good.
I'm not sure I'm like a huge stinky cheese fan, but like we put Asiago cheese in our mac and cheese. And
okay.
every time I make that with the stinky cheese, like I get so many compliments. So I made like 10 cups of mac and cheese for the graduation party for my boy. Right. And it 10 cups of, so like 10 cups of just, I'm talking about like the uncooked macaroni. Like, so it's a shit ton of macaroni and cheese was made. And it got eaten. Like it was
a scientific term.
Shit. Okay. You know what? You and I need to have a conversation about that, the ton, because I've actually scientifically, I think there is something there. There's something there. Okay. So on another note, we need to, yes. Thank you, Dwayne. I had a very mini vacation. My husband and I went to a place called Silverwood. It is a amusement park right in Idaho. We live in Spokane, Washington, and we're right on literally right on the line with, so technically we don't live in Spokane, but anyway, that's the general area. We live right next to Idaho. About half an hour from us is a place called Silverwood. They have a water park and they have an amusement park. And my 16-year-old is actually going to be working there this summer. She already got hired. She just needs to get put on the schedule. And we had all intentions to go to the water park side and not the amusement park side, but it was like 65 degrees. So that was too chilly for me. I was like, nope, that's not happening. So we ended up, my husband and I ended up enjoying our time on the amusement park side. So that was a lot of fun. There wasn't a lot of people there. I mean, like comparatively speaking, when we've been there during busy season, probably because of the weather, but we have a trailer. And so they have an RV park. And so we hooked up the trailer and we went out there and we stayed there for 2 nights. So it was very good. Thank you so much for asking. That was way more information than you needed.
Where are the amusement park brokers?
Oh,
I need them. Here's who I need. Here are my dream clients.
Question.
My dream clients would be amusement park broker, bowling alley broker, like whoever is the person responsible for repping Drew Brees' Surge. Like, where are those brokers? Because you are sitting on a content goldmine. Sorry, I was just like,
yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. I almost went somewhere else with that word. You are absolutely correct. Where are you people?
Where are you?
You're not on social, clearly.
Somebody's got to be repping those properties. There's an amusement park / water park in Baton Rouge that is currently in a transition, and I'm like, who? I got to start asking, be like, who? So who, anyway, but this is all besides the point. I'm just saying in general, what you're doing, you don't have to be hawking amusement parks, but just like, you're probably doing something very, very interesting with the properties that you're either representing or trying to sell or whatever.
Well, I mean, I mean, the point of today's topic is content is king, right? And how to go from search to seen. And if we're talking about that, think about like, so one of the accounts that I love following on Instagram is the one where I believe it's an old amusement park or it's an old rail line that they took, and now people can sit on little cars and then do like a rail through the woods. It's like out in Oregon. It's freaking like I want to go there just because I've seen that stuff on Instagram so much, and I'm just like, that would be the coolest thing to do ever, right? But they're making content based on that, so that obviously it's a tourist attraction, but you can bring people in. And yes, I do think on social we should be seeing more, and has nothing to do with brokers, this has more to do with like amusement parks and things like that. We should be seeing more content from these places, right? It is a treasure trove of content, whether it's filming yourself going down a slide, whether it's in a race car around a little derby track.
Oh,
right, like there's so much content that could be created there. Like it's crazy to me. You could get a couple people to be a part of your content team, put freaking GoPros on their heads, and then right? Anyway, okay, so that we went off on a tangent there, but not really, because we're talking about from search to seen, using Answer the Public to help you with your content. So as we all know, content is king, but it's only true if it's searchable and people can find you. So Answer the Public, if nobody knows what Answer the Public is, it is a website that you can go to, and it's like it's like a treasure trove of information for search terms, right? So I've used this for a really long time, and I always forget about it. I used it a lot more when it was free, so it's still free for the most part. But now, like if you want to use it really in depth, you have to pay for it, obviously. But the free search terms, very, very easy to use. So go to Answer the Public, right? And then what you're going to start doing is you're going to start putting in your keywords that what you're looking for related to your industry, right? Unless, you want to create content about something that has nothing to do with your industry, but we're literally talking about your industry. So if you are I was just doing something for Massimo Group with Aviva. So let's talk about Aviva and Denver Warehouse, right? So you put in like Denver warehouse brokers, or you put in warehouse brokers, or you put in industrial Denver warehouse, right? What?
I'm gonna do that one. I'm doing this right now.
She's doing it live. And then so you're going to start broad, right? And then you're going to start bringing it down, and you're going to drill down and drill down and drill down. And then the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pull what we call content clusters. So it says questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. This is taking you back to school, I realize. Then you have your prepositions: for, with, near, and, but, yet, so. And then comparisons: versus, like, the alternative. And then you're going to create content clusters around one theme. For example, if you were researching AI for commercial real estate brokers, then you would ask for, blog post titles, YouTube video titles or scripts, LinkedIn and Instagram posts, and then any kind of discussion group that you could be in. So for example, I have examples here. AI for brokers. What is AI in real estate? How can brokers use AI for listings? AI versus virtual assistants in real estate, and best AI tools for commercial real estate. And then what the next step that you're going to do is you're going to prioritize for your app engine optimization. That's your AEO, or AEO can also stand for answer engine optimization. Nice trip, shout out.
That was weird. I gotta figure out my camera.
And answer engine optimization, which is when we're talking about AI. So as we've talked about before, and I'll bring it back in because you probably haven't looked at the last episodes, but answer engine optimization is your Claude. It is your Claude / Anthropic. It's your Grok. It's your Gemini. It is your Chat GPT. It is all of these AIs that we're now using more for search terms than we are ever before, right? Like, I think it was April or May that ChatGPT overtook Google for search, right? And then also, I mean, think about Perplexity. And if you haven't done this yet, ooh, Robin says on the gram, she says, just reading an article on AEO this morning. Ooh, Robin, you'll have to share that with us. share the link with us, or hit us up on LinkedIn or on X so we can see that article too. I'd love to see it. But when you are answering questions that people are asking, that they're querying on the engines, whichever engine you want to talk about, when you're actually using those terms in your content, you are more easily found, right? So that's the whole point. Content is king, but only if you can be seen and it's searchable. So the next thing that you're going to want to do with your, after you've gone to answer the public, you've drilled down what your subjects are. I think my internet, is my internet okay? Okay. Hold on. Dwayne is saying, I did this twice. I Googled and didn't get the OM material because the deal closed and it was removed. I asked chat and they got it for me. Wow.
That's very cool.
That's crazy, dude.
One of the things I think too with like using Google for search versus using an answer engine for search, that like from my personal experience is that once again, you only get out of it what you put into it. And so with the search function and you just have the single bar and the way that you look up search terms, like there's no conversation with it. It either understands your question or it doesn't. Or you've either written your search in a way that is built for how Google or Bing or whatever like pings things and pulls things. Like I remember learning how to use a search engine in, 20 years ago or whatever. And it was like learning a different language.
Right.
The great thing, one of the reasons why people are turning so much to these other models now, or these other engines now, is because it's responsive. And if you don't get the answer back that you were looking for, you can look at that and say, this isn't what I wanted. How could, and actually have a conversation with it, as opposed to you put in a search term and you get back something that has nothing to do with actually what you said.
Which is super frustrating and time consuming. And then if you have ADHD like me, you're like, screw it. I'm done. I'm walking away. Like, so yeah, so it's much easier to ask or put in the query in a chat or an AI model versus Google, because it's like you can have that conversation. You can say, this is not what I'm looking for. And how can I make this more clear for you to be able to get the answer that I'm looking for? And then there's also the challenge too, that a lot of times, as we know with Google, there were people paying for those search terms to land on the first page that had nothing to do with what you wanted to do. And you're like, wait a minute. And they weren't ads. This was like scandal a couple of years ago. They're not ads, but people were paying to have all that stuff put on there. And you're like, wait a minute. Like that's not fair. That's not what I was looking for. Right?
How long is it going to take? How long is it going to take for the same thing to happen to the AIs?
That's a great question.
I mean,
that is a great question.
Because it's like when we look at how people monetize data, or like when we look at how people monetize that particular service, or when we look at like other forms of advertising too, like if you look at a great website like BuzzFeed, I'm so sorry that I said that.
But the fact that came out of your mouth.
I'm a millennial, okay? It was all I had. It was all I had. But so BuzzFeed is obviously like totally collapsed and cannibalized in itself.
Yes.
But in the beginning, right? And then so like you see this happen really often. Like in the beginning, you will have a tool or a platform or a publication or something that is great. And then it starts getting eaten up by advertising.
Right.
So,
and then it's pay to play.
So hopefully, so we'll see, right? It just, it depends. A lot of it depends on how people actually make money. But that is such a digression. I actually want to bring it back to answer the public, because one of the things I really love about this platform is that when you put in your search terms, Denver warehouse or New York broker or like whatever the thing is that you either want to be found in, like, or how you're categorizing yourself, like whatever it is that you put in there that you're trying to explore, it will show you not just hits for those particular keywords, but different ways that people are searching for it.
Yes.
Down to the specific questions that they ask that bring up those results. So it's like, it won't just be like buy Denver warehouse. It'll be like, who is selling, or like who's the best broker in Denver. Like we already know that question, but it categorizes things by not just keywords, but that the specific questions that they're asking, down to the who, what, where, when, and why.
Right.
So it is actually showing you how people are looking for things, and the what people are looking for is important, but how they're looking for it teaches you the language of
that you use.
Exactly. And it'll also show you what are the most searched versus, and this might be different now, like depending on like what level of plan that you have. And again, like you have to pay for it now, but I think the introductory plan is like $10 a month or something. It's actually quite, it adds up, but it's, that's quite accessible.
Right.
So it'll show you what searches, whether they're keywords or specifically phrased questions. It'll show you what people are actually searching for. If it's a low search versus a high search, that's interesting information to have. It could be like, oh, not as many people are looking for this, so maybe it's
too niche or too specific.
Right. Or, is that also an opportunity to look for, like, how can I, where are my opportunities to make this more seen? But it's just really, again, it's some yumbers.
Yumbers, right? Yummy numbers. If you haven't been on X, then that's where we got yummy numbers from. Yumbers. And please join us on X. There's great conversations that happen there all the time. If you thought that you haven't, I don't have anything important to say on X, absolutely you do. Get involved in those conversations. It's super. It's a good time. And if I'm going to shout out the group that usually has a X Live, it's Coy Davidson's often on there. Aaron Harris is on there. Jim Core is on there. Jim, I think that's not your last name. I'm trying to think of your
Jim Arter.
Maybe, yeah. But there's a bunch of guys on there that they just talk real estate like every night. I usually pop in at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening, my time. And they're just chit-chatting about real estate. Anyway, it's a great way to be able to get into, the minds of some of these folks.
And all of those, and
yeah, go ahead.
No, and there's also an X space. I was gonna say something else, but I'll say this. On Thursday, Warren Tingen is hosting another CREI X space to talk about the programming coming up in Palm Desert, not in Palm Desert in September for the CREI Summit. Where am I? And Amy Calandrino from Beyond Commercial and myself, who are the programming co-chairs, are going to be talking about some of the programming that we have.
Is that coming up like this Thursday?
I think it's Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. I don't know.
I should probably know this since I'm on the marketing committee and would need to create graphics for that. All right. We're going to have an email string later on today to find out if it's this Thursday or if it's next Thursday. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is how you found out.
Well, I was gone like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week.
It just happened. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, then I am not part of that conversation. Okay. So when we're talking about AEO, and we're talking about using Answer the Public to create content, what you're going to do is you're going to take those questions and then you're going to do a short answer, which is your 1 to 2 sentences. This is great for things like X, things like Instagram. You can create graphics with it. You can do a quote with it. You can create interesting content around those questions. And then, of course, think about your blog or wherever it is. Good morning, Marcy Moneypenny, who's joining us from Denver. Think about where you're going to put this long form content so it can be found also on the engines, whether it's search engine or answer engine. So your long form content is going to be 2 to 4 paragraphs. It's not going to be, you're not writing a thesis. Okay. And you also have to remember that you want to create the content so it's easily readable. The way that we read text now is very, very fast. I've talked about this before. I will continue to talk about it, which is, we'll read 7 lines of text, but we will not read 7 lines of text all blocked together. We will read it if it's spaced apart. Now, grammatically, for all of our grammar Nazis out there, it doesn't make any sense. It's going to it's not going to look pretty. And you're like, why can't they just write in a normal paragraph? Because our eyes don't read that way. So if we're on social and we're reading 2 lines, space, white space, that's a line, 3 lines, white space, 2 lines, we'll read all of that content. But if you chunk all of that and block it all together, we'll just glaze it over and we won't look at it at all. And that's just knowing, I don't know if it's the best word is psychology of how we consume content. But that is actually how we consume content now on social media. If it's big block text, we're not going to read it. If it's the same amount of text and we split it up, oh, guess what? We're going to read that because it's much easier to read. So the next thing that I want you to think about is how do you take this question that now you have answers to and paragraphs to, and you're going to create an omni-channel campaign around it, right?
Ooh, I like
First
this
thing.
word.
I'm getting I did the little French if I see block of text, yep,
bro, I'm just like, I will like collapse it and just keep going. Like,
right.
On the other hand, if I see 2,500 words that are like in the blocked out sentences, like sometimes, like once again, I think that what you've said about like you're not writing a thesis, like you just pay attention to how you read and how you read differently on different apps. And
Correct.
There is a place for long form content that is written in the traditional I'm holding a little paragraph. That's what this is. My little paragraph. There's a place for that, right? But again, you have to think about the platform that you're on, how people actually behave on that platform.
Correct.
And I do recommend I know I've taken us back. Hemingway app is a great website to put in text and visually see where it is too dense and how you might break it up.
Nice. Hemingway app. Okay. I'll have to, so it's dumb question. Can I get on, can I just use it on desktop or is it an actual?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll send you the link. I made a post about it before at some point too.
I remember. Yeah. I was like, I know she said that.
Okay, I'm so sorry I interrupted you. And now I can't remember what you were talking about.
No, it's all good. We're talking about omni-channel content. So you're going to take those questions that you get from Answer the Public, and you're going to answer those questions, whether in short form or long form content. And then the next thing that you're going to do is you're like, oh, great. I already have like a script here that I can record a 60-second, 90-second, less than 3-minute video that now can go out on YouTube Shorts. It can go out on Instagram Reels. It can go out on Facebook Reels. It can go out wherever video content needs to be. And then you can also take that video and you can put it in an e-newsletter. You can put it on your website. You can turn any of the quotes that you said in that video into quote graphics for Instagram. And now you can put your long form content on Instagram as long as it's within 2,200 characters. You can put it on LinkedIn and you can post the question, right? Put your answer and then get engagement and feedback from other people. And then you're going to share because you're going to do a blog, right? Because you have a website, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And you're going to share that whole blog to your email list. You can also create content around the blog, right? So you can do like a teaser with a blog post and then put it on the socials and say, hey, new blog post. This is what, we're talking about this week at such and such industrial Denver, blah, 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 blah. Right. That's the best business name ever.
Industrial Denver blah blah. What is it? Blah 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 blog.
That reminds me of that stupid TikTok video with the banana, the Barbara banana, it was a German song. Anywho,
we spend so much time on the internet. Sorry, why did I clap?
Because it's true. We spend so much time on the internet. You were making a point. Now, if you use this system weekly, there should never be a question as to. All right, we're back. Sorry, my internet.
There should never be a question as to
what content you should be creating every week, right? Even if it's you're doing 2 posts a week, you'd be fine, right? You can go to Answer the Public and you could literally do an entire month's worth of content just based off of 1 or 2 questions. Because now you have the content waterfall. We talk about this a lot. Where you've taken a larger piece of content and you've broken it down into multiple pieces of content that can be spread across all of the platforms all the time. And then, of course, you need to also track. That's the last thing I want to end this on, is that you need to track how that content is performing. Is it answering questions that your clients and your potential prospects have? Always keep that in mind. Your audience is not other brokers unless your audience and your target market is other brokers. Your audience is your clients and your demographic that you're trying to reach. I say that with a little bit of insincerity, because if you look at my content, do as I say, not as I do. If you look at my content, yes, I do share a lot of information about social and how you should be creating content and how you can do content waterfall and all of this stuff. But a lot of my content is also for me. It's stuff that amuses me, stuff that makes me laugh. So I'm kind of the antithesis to what I'm telling you.
I disagree, because like I would say that you have a healthy mix of content that is educational, that is value add, that is in service of people, right? Who are you trying to reach, which are brokers and other people, like, yes. But then also, once again, in this business, no matter what function that you serve in this business, like ultimately the reason that people will do business with you is because of who you are as a person. And so I think that for everyone, like, it is important to answer the questions. It is important to like have value add. It is really important to speak to your prospects and your community's like very specific concerns and problems and how you help solve them. 100% yes. And then also, like, are you going to be fun to work with? Are you going to be cool to work with and easy to work with? You know what I mean? So
right. And so a lot of the content that I do produce, that is that the 3 E's that we talk about, which is education, entertainment, and engagement, is all about, it's a lot of my personality. And Fly does the same thing, right? Like, we know her personality. You can tell based on our writing, like, we're sarcastic, we're a little profane, we're not here to bullshit you. And blow smoke up your butt and tell you you're the best. Like, if your stuff stinks, or we're going to say it in a nice way, but be like, you're not really hitting the mark here. So say all that to remind you that your content should have your personality in it. Yeah. It should definitely reflect who you are, what you believe in, and give people the insight into you, so that when they meet you in real life, when you're at a networking event and say, hey, I follow you on such and such platform, I follow you on LinkedIn, I follow you on X, you are exactly the same here as you are there, right? And that helps create the connection. And there is an absolute disconnect when you have somebody who is very loud and obnoxious on social, and then you meet them in real life and they're not that way at all. And you're like who? Because it creates that question of who is the real person, right? When you meet me in real life, when you meet Fly in real life, I want you to have that energy. I want you to understand, like, Who we are right here is exactly who you're going to meet. The content that we write and share is exactly how we speak. It is exactly what we think. There is no disconnect between that. So to wrap this all up, so we don't go super long. Oh, Marcy said, if we have questions, and I will have questions, can we reach out directly?
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, we're available everywhere. We're available everywhere. Okay, the experience has to be worth it. We use this, is the hike worth the view? If it isn't, otherwise, yep. That's great. Love that. So to wrap this up, content that ranks gets you seen, and not stinky rank, like good rank, right? It gets clicks and it builds trust, but it doesn't have to be complicated. So first thing first, you're going to go to Answer the Public, and you're going to use that resource to start getting, understanding what questions people are asking for your specific niche, right? And then you're going to start creating content based off of that. And then once that content is created, and it's you answering those questions, right? Then you're going to start doing video. Then you're going to start doing carousel posts. Then you're going to start doing an e-newsletter. And then it's going to be a blog post that goes out on your website. And that's how you create that stupid internet. There we go. My internet's been wonky since last week. So it's just been all over the place. So apologies for that. So that's how you create that omni-channel presence from just a few questions. And Answer the Public, for the most part, is free. I think you get 7 free or 10 free queries. If not, they have really affordable and available plans. But that will help you create that content, especially if you are in a content block, right? You don't know what to do. And last but not least, content is king, but only if it is seen and searchable. So everybody have a great day. Don't forget, we have our school group, our school social mastery VIP. We have a wait list going on right now. We have people who have joined already. Would absolutely love for you to do that. Fly and I will be in there. We will be talking about marketing, social media, taking you through one-liners, how to build your business well on social and across digital platforms. We will be back here on Thursday. We'll see you then. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We shall see you then.